Welcome everyone to another lecture on applications of rational functions. So far we have seen different word problems, different application questions, and we have seen how we can use our knowledge of solving rational equations in solving real life problems. This is another example here. It says a company purchases X kilograms of steel for $2,249.52. It processes the steel, turning it into parts that can be used in other factories. After this process, the total mass of the steel has dropped by 25 kilograms due to trimmings and scrap and all that, but the value of the steel increased to $10,838.52. The company has made a profit of $2 per kilogram. What was the original mass of the steel and what is the original cost per kilogram? So here, what is the unknown is the original mass of the steel. The company purchases X kilogram of steel, and we want to know how many kilograms of steel this company purchased. So we're going to let X equal to original mass in kilograms, and then we are going to use a very famous formula in economics and business, and that is profit equals revenue minus cost. This is like a very universal equation, and in any kind of business that you can imagine or you can think of, including like McDonald's burger store or like Tim Hortons coffee shop or any kind of restaurant or businesses that they sell electronics, cell phones, or even businesses that they're selling wristwatches, any kind of business that you can imagine has these three factors. One is the revenue, which oftentimes it's mistaken with the profit. Revenue is the amount of money that you collect from the customers directly. So if you're selling wristwatches, for example, and if you sell, let's say, 100 wristwatches, and each one is worth $20. So 20 times 100, that's $2,000 that you collected directly from people. So that is the revenue of your business. But the thing is that uh, every business has some costs involved. So if you're running a store, probably you're paying for the rent of the store, or you're paying for the insurance, you're paying for heat, utilities, probably you're paying for Wi-Fi. Probably you have employees that you have to pay the salaries of the employees. You have to pay the suppliers to buy the wristwatches from them in the first place. So there's a whole bunch of different types of costs involved. Some are fixed costs, like insurance, for example. Every month you pay the same amount, or the rent of the store is fixed cost. And some of them are variable costs, such as salaries of the employees and other costs. And when you subtract these two, you end up with the profit, which is your net take home money, basically. So if you are making $2,000 and the cost of your business is $1,200, then 2,000 minus 1,200 would be $800. That is the profit. And whenever profit is a positive number, that is revenue is greater than cost, that represents a healthy business. And if it's the other way, I mean, cost is more than the revenue, that means that profit is negative. That's when the business goes bankrupt. And there is one special case that may happen, and that is revenue and cost be exactly equal to one another. Then in that case, profit will be zero, and we say that the business broke even. So here we do know the profit. The question says the profit is $2 per kilogram. So we can write $2 per kilogram for the profit, but then the cost, the purchasing price was $2,249.52, and how much steel did they buy? Well, they bought X kilograms of steel, and how much they paid? This much. So that was their cost of the business, basically. So 2,249.52 divided by X. That's the cost. The profit was given to us. It was $2 per kilogram. You just have to read the question very carefully. And now all we need to find is the revenue. Now, they apparently sold the steel. It says the total mass of the steel has dropped by 25 kilograms due to trimmings, but the value of the steel increased to $10,000. So that means that they sold it for $10,838.52. So if that's the revenue, that's the money that they collected from the sales of the steel. We just have to see for how many kilograms was that, like how many kilograms did they sell basically. Initially it was X kilograms, of course, but then 25 kilograms were gone due to scrap and trimmings. So that means that the mass was X, take away 25. So $10,838.52 was the price they sold an amount of X minus 25 kilograms of steel. That's the revenue. And $2,249.52 over X was the cost per kilogram, because that's how much they paid to buy the steel, X kilograms of steel actually. And the profit was $2 per kilogram according to given information. And here we want to find the original mass of the steel, which is actually X. So once again, you see that in the world of economics or business, in this particular application word problem, we end up with a rational equation that we need to solve. So we have shown you how we solve rational equations in the past, and now we see that we apply our knowledge to actually solve the problem. So the common denominator would be X times X minus 25. So we get 10,838.52 times X minus 25 times 2249.52. And left side is just 2. We have to do a bit of simplifying. So we will try to cross multiply. So 2 times X minus 25 equals 1 times the numerator, which is what we had before. So it's going to be, if you multiply using distributive law, minus 224952x, and negative times negative is going to be positive 25 times 2249.52. Now if you just transpose all the terms to one side of the equation and collect like terms and simplify a little bit, you will end up, of course, this part would be 2x squared minus 50x. But if you rearrange the terms, you will end up with this quadratic equation: 2x squared minus 8639x minus 56238 equals 0. So when you rearrange the terms and move every term to one side of the equation, set it equal to 0, you end up with a quadratic equation. And I know that these numbers are large and it's not that easy to use factoring method of solving quadratic equations. Therefore, we will just use the famous quadratic formula, which you know the formula, of course. So we have A is 2, B is negative 8,639, and C is negative 56,238. So when you do the math, you get 8,639 plus minus 8,665 over 4. Of course, you have to use a calculator. B squared minus 4AC. When you take the square root, you end up with 8,665. Now here we end up with two answers, because once we take the plus in between and once we take the minus. So one answer would be negative 6.5. The other one would be 4,326. Now think about it. You cannot have negative amount of original mass for the steel. So this answer is actually inadmissible. And the other answer, which is 4,326, that is actually admissible. and this is measured in kilograms. That's the unit of measurement for x, okay, because x represents the original mass in kilograms. So basically, we answered the question, what was the original mass? It is 4,326 kilograms. And it says, what is the original cost per kilogram? Well, cost per kilogram was this, if you recall. We said that the cost is represented by this fraction here, right? So cost per kilogram will be 2249.52 divided by 4,326. And when you do the division, you end up with 52 cents. 52 cents per kilogram, which is $0.52 per kilogram. Okay, so the cost per kilogram is found 52 cents per kilogram, and the original mass of the steel was 4,326 kilograms. We need to write the final closing statement. That's etched in stone. A final paraphrase. So we're going to say the original mass of the steel was 4,326 kilograms. You mentioned the unit of measurement, and the cost per kilogram was 52 cents. Okay, so that would be our final closing statement. So once again, we see that rational equations have applications in different fields. We have done questions in science, physics, with regards to speed kind of problems, speed, distance, time. This was another question from business. We have done all the questions in the past. So I hope you have understood how we are applying our knowledge of solving rational equations in doing word problems. Keep practicing as always, and thank you for your attention.